Hello, friends. How are you today? So glad to be with you. I feel like I've got something very special for you today. I want to talk to you about problem solving. But just before we do, I'd like for you to pull up a cup of coffee with me. Enjoy just a couple of moments of quietness. Listen, it's important to have a coach in your life. I think a lot of people, they fail to realize that the importance of having someone that speaks into your life, especially as you're working through problems, as you're working through difficulties. And I just think it's important that you open your heart, that you allow yourself or allow this to be a part of your heart, part of your time, your agenda. But I want to talk to you for just a couple of moments concerning solving problems in your life. It seems like problems are just consistent. I mean, it seems like we work with them so very much. We consistently deal with these problems. Maybe we've got problems in our finance, problems in our marriage. Seems like we have problems on our job, our relationships. And that's not unusual to have problems come up. Actually, it's just a part of life, isn't it? It's kind of expected. We work to solve our problems. We try to fix them. But have you noticed that problems seldom stay fixed? Do you ever think about that? The problems that we deal with so many times, they seldom stay fixed. As a matter of fact, too many people have problems written in their DNA. In other words, the problems are naturally facilitated into their life, and that problems remain usually because even if they change, even if they try to adjust here or adjust there, their lifestyles and their habits facilitate the problems in the beginning, and what's facilitated those problems in the beginning are the very things that bring those problems into your present and into your future. It keeps opening the door for them to come back. You understand? It's almost like a diet. Have you ever noticed you gain weight and then you think, okay, all right, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to do it. I'm going to lose weight, and this time I'm going to keep it off. And it's not too long. You'll do fine for a while, but it's not long until you start gaining back until you're not just in the same shape you were in, but you're in worse shape than you used to be. And the reason is because the things that caused us to gain weight in the beginning are the very things that caused us to gain weight in our future. See, when you're going to lose weight, you're going to have to actually make it a lifestyle. In other words, I ain't never eating that again. I'm not going back there. I mean, literally, that has to be, because what caused you to gain weight in the beginning will cause you to gain weight at any time. So it's a lifestyle. It's things that we're doing. I love sugar. I love sweets. I love chocolate. And the things that we consume, face it, is something we ate. So if we're going to change our future to make it different from our past, we're going to have to change what we've been doing. And what I want to do is I want to give you kind of a diagnostic checkup here that you can kind of give yourself to evaluate where you are in your progress. The thing that I try to come to you every day is I want you to experience a successful life. And living a successful life is not just having money. It's not. It's having a successful relationship with other people. Certainly successful in your financial world. But also, I've seen people who had incredible amounts of money, but they would commit suicide because they were so depressed, so lost, so helpless. That is not a successful life. You can be in the middle of the desert and have 50 pounds of gold bricks, but if you're dying of thirst, you're not successful. A successful life is something that touches every part of your life, and you're going to have a checkup every year. Every now and then, you're going to have to do a diagnostic checkup to see where you are in this process. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you the truth. There's a lot of companies that will hire someone to come in just simply to do an evaluation of their company. How are we doing? These are our goals. This is where we want to go. So how are we doing in the process? And they'll bring somebody in to help them make that happen. So that's what I want to do with you. I want to help you. I want to give you about a 6-point diagnostic checkup, something that you can give yourself every now and then to just kind of see where you are. You know, I remember back a number of years ago, and of course, computers have changed so much now, but it used to be that we would have to defrag the computer. And you might say, well, I'm not sure what that is. Well, the cookies and all the other things that would kind of attach to what you're doing, it would get so overloaded, your system would get so overloaded that it would slow it down, and in many cases wouldn't run at all. So what you had to do was periodically defrag your hard drive. And it was basically to clear out all of the junk that people have attached to it and all the things that aren't necessary to speed up the operation. So that's what it was, where the computer was running slow. That could be your life. Your life is running slow. Your life is falling apart. You need to defrag. Sometimes you need to eliminate the things that's slowing you down or stealing your momentum. And I think we have to continually evaluate the obstacles between us and the people we work with, or between us and the success that we want to have. Because here's the reason. Things don't always stay still. In other words, you can make plans for what you want to do and have everything lined up, but then the scenery changes, seasons change, the economy changes, people move away, new people come in, and so you're not playing by the same rules that you were a year ago. Things have taken place and moved around. So what you got to do is you got to do a serious evaluation of yourself and your responsibilities occasionally, at least annually. And you got to evaluate your attitudes, your relationships, your appearance, even your appearance. That can make a difference. Your involvement in life, you need to evaluate your habits, your negativity. There's so many things in your life that you really need to look at if you want to maintain success. Because I'm just telling you, if you just simply put it on autopilot and run, you'll do fine for a while, but it won't be long until suddenly you realize, wow, something's wrong. Things aren't working right. What is it? I mean, what is it? What has changed? Well, probably most everything has changed. And patterns and habits creep into our life unnoticed. I mean, we get to where it happens so like a stealth. It comes in and it infiltrates our habits, and suddenly we develop bad habits, and we don't even realize we're doing that. We don't even realize what's taken place. So let me quickly give you 6 steps that you can take, 6 diagnostic steps for a diagnostic checkup. Things that you can do, okay? The first one, all right, let's do number 1. The first one is recognition. You're going to have to see that something is wrong. That's the most important thing. If necessary, you're going to have to get help. You may have to bring someone else into your life and your business. You may have to attend seminars to see what someone else is doing, to kind of compare. In other words, what you might have to do is get outside your environment to see what others are doing, just to have fresh input. You got to recognize that there's a problem. Are you being productive? That's number 1. You're going to have to recognition. Can you see? Do you feel good about where things are? Can you sense that maybe something is missing, that something is wrong? Well, what is it? I don't know. I don't know. You know, if I have a business, if customers aren't coming, if suddenly they've stopped, I'm recognizing, hey, we got a problem here. You know, so that's number 1. Number 2 is evaluation. Once you've recognized it, the second thing is your evaluation of that. You may have to get help for that. How severe is the problem? I've got something that I think you have to do. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself and lovingly honest with others. But you're going to have to be brutally honest with yourself. Sometimes we don't want to see it. And we will even unconsciously hide things that we're uncomfortable with. But you're going to have to be honest about it. And I want to say that one way that you can do that, I always like to write down every negative thing that someone might say, even if I know it's not true. The fact is, if someone has perceived that to be true, I want to make sure that it's not true. It could be that they've got on a wrong day, or maybe that their perception was wrong. See, perception may not be reality, but it is reality to the person that's perceiving it. And that person is important. So if somebody has perceived that something is wrong, I want to listen to what they have to say. It's important that you always be open to constructive criticism, not destructive criticism, constructive criticism. Destructive criticism just is this, they don't care. They're just going to say, I don't like you, there ain't nothing you can do about it. But constructive criticism tells you if you did this better, you would have a greater result. I want to be open to that. So if someone has something negative to say, it may even hurt my feelings a little bit. But I got to stop being defensive and so prideful. And I've got to maybe write down the negative thing that they said and say, is it possible that this is true? It may not be true. It may be that they misunderstood. But I'm not going to allow myself just to blow that off and let something that's wrong just continue to roll the wrong direction. Okay? So I want to write down everything. If something negative is said, I want to write that down. This is part of my number 2. This is my evaluation. I've got to ask myself, has it affected me and my relationship with other people? I've got to think about that. And then I've got to think about what can be done. That's part of my evaluation. Have I gotten myself into a situation where things are relatively bad, or are they real bad? And then I got to say, how can I fix this? See, I'll tell you something. You got to make up in your mind to be a problem solver, because there's all kinds of things that look bad and that are bad. There's all kinds of things in your life that can take your success and run it right into the ditch. But you're going to have to make the decision to be a problem solver. So I've evaluated this thing, and now I want to determine what can be done. And that brings me to the third thing. What I do there is I set goals and objectives. Based on my evaluation, I want to set my objectives and my goals, because I don't want to just make pie in the sky goals. I need to have goals that are connected to where I am right now. It would be great if I could start out there someplace, but I'm not there. I'm here. So my goals and my objectives has to hook up to my problems. As my problems are here, I want to set my goals and objectives connected to those that take me from here to someplace else. So I basically say, here's my plan. And I start making changes in my situation and working my plan. Now, it takes different people or changes in old people to make a difference. You can't hang on to what you've always done in the past. You've got to be open to some real constructive changes, and that may take new people. That may take new relationships for you. You got to stop and think about that. It takes different people or changes in old people to move you to the next place. Because if you just hang on to the same things, the same patterns, the same habits, the same things over and over, it's kind of like the diet that you wanted to go on and lose weight. You go back to, you quit the chocolate, you quit the pie, you quit all of the other things that made you gain weight, and then you just hang on to all of those same things. I'm just telling you, right now, you're going to gain back and more. You're going to have to make some changes. And that's got to be part of your objectives and part of your goals. Okay? Now, once you've done that, what I like to do, my fourth thing is, I like to reevaluate again. I mean, once I've made these changes, I don't want to stop there. Now I need to ask myself, and I need to say, are my changes working? Is the plan working for me? That's very important for me to be able to evaluate, because sometimes we can start with our objectives and goals, and we have to determine right there. That takes us back really to number one, recognition. Is my plan working? Are my plans, the things that I've done, are they working for me? So I'm having to reevaluate that again and determine, are they working? Okay? Then my fifth one is this. I want to remodify the plans based on my evaluation. Now, what do I mean by that? There are so many times when you make adjustments that may be working but may not. Can I just tell you this? Not everything that works on paper works in real life. Not everything that you have written down in your perfect little plan works in real life. You get the human element involved in things, and sometimes it can just go kind of crazy on you. So what I want to do is I want to remodify my plans based on that evaluation that I just made. You know, the 10 Commandments, they're the only things that's set in stone. You're going to have to be flexible during these times. Don't be prideful. Don't be prideful. Listen, pride's a problem, guys. Can I just tell you this? Pride is the only thing that can be offended. And you find people that are so offended, they got a pride problem. They do. They have a serious pride problem. But you're not going to make changes that need to be made if you're walking around so proud. You're going to have to be flexible. And sometimes the flexibility you see in people demonstrates the confidence that they have, the strength that they have. Usually when you find people that are not flexible, you find people that are very insecure. So you're going to have to be flexible. Principles don't change, but I'm going to tell you this, application does. I'm not saying compromise your principles. I'm not saying that. But sometimes, even though your principles, I'm not compromising my principles, but my application of those principles change because time changes. It does, guys. That's the reason you're not wearing bell bottoms and you're not wearing a mullet anymore. The reason was it seemed like a great idea back then, but it isn't anymore. And you have to understand that maybe the principles remain, but the application doesn't. And you've got to be able to recognize that if you're going to be really a problem solver, okay? So we evaluate our presentation, we evaluate our application, because often, and I want to say this to you, often what we're doing makes so much sense, we don't even look to see if it's working anymore. Seriously, has that happened to you? There's been times and that's why I've gone to some churches before, and what they're doing, they don't do any kind of a diagnostic checkup to see if what they're doing is working. It's almost like when you go in, it's almost like going back in time. I'm serious. It's weird. You got the same hair, the same egg-stained dress that they wore 35 years ago, singing the same song, doing it the same way. It's like going back in time. They could not do that change. When something doesn't make a change, we call it a fossil. And you have to understand that there's a lot of businesses and churches and people in whatever they're doing that have become fossils. They didn't make the change. And what they're doing, like I said, what they're doing makes so much sense, they don't even look to see if it's working anymore. But if you're going to legitimately move to the next level, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to be flexible, and you're going to have to modify over and over again. And you know what? In about a year, you're going to have to make some changes again. In about 5 years, you're going to have to make some changes again. Well, that's number 5. Now, number 6, here, listen, continually evaluate the obstacles between you and the people that you want to work with or your objectives. Why? Because as soon as your plans start working, suddenly seasons will come in and change all of that again. You've got to do a serious evaluation of yourself and your responsibilities at least annually. And I've jotted down a couple of areas that I want to just say, you're going to have to evaluate yourself. We've got about 6 or 8 of these. Let me just quickly say them. Evaluate yourself in your attitude toward people that you work around. Evaluate yourself in the growth that you have with your relationships, growth in the area of your relationships. Evaluate yourself in your educational process. You're going to have to keep up. Times are changing, and we're at a time where technology is taking us to the next level. I'm telling you, I remember back when computers, back during the 80s, when they really started to come back in, personal computers and things like that. And I saw people in businesses and churches, and they made the statement, they said, "Not me, I don't need any computers." Well, you know what? They got left behind. And it may put your brain in a cramp. I'm just telling you something. It's like one fellow said, I went back to school and the professor said, "Good morning," and that was the last thing I understood. You're going to have to make the decision to educate yourself. So you need to evaluate your educational process. You're going to have to evaluate your willingness to try new things. Now, that may scare you a little bit, but if you're not willing to try new things, you're making a mistake. Okay? Evaluate that. Evaluate the involvement that you have in family, in community, in school, in church. I think you really need to evaluate. Where do I stand in all of these areas? I'm doing great in my business, but my family's going to hell in a handbasket. How many times have you heard about people that were very successful in business and lost their children, lost their family, so caught up in this and that? You need to ask yourself that, what is my involvement? Am I balanced with my family, with my community, with my school, with my church? Am I balanced in my time and rest? Am I balanced in these areas? Okay. The next one, evaluate yourself in your habits. Let me ask you a question. Are you late to everything? Guys, listen to me. That's a big, because that says something about you. When people are always late, I don't care. That says something much more than they want to realize. And they may think that people don't recognize, and I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. That says something about you. I don't want to hire somebody that's always late. And the reason is because that shows that their life is out of balance. They're having problems prioritizing. They're having a problem with their responsibilities, with their commitments. They've got so many commitments, they can't keep up with it. So they're constantly late. That says something. You need to evaluate yourself in being late. Evaluate yourself in, are you being critical to a fault? Now, see, there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism, but are you critical all the time? That says something about you. Are you negative all the time? That says something about you. But if you're not careful, what will happen, you'll get to the place that you just do it and you don't even think about it. Have you ever heard somebody just cusses all the time? I've listened to people and I'm thinking, I don't know that you could even carry out a full conversation without using those cuss words. Is it possible that you could actually put together an entire sentence without that? And the answer is probably not, because they're doing it unconsciously. They've leaned on it so much that they don't even realize they're doing it. And as a result, it ekes out at the most inappropriate times. And it shows something about the class level of that individual. So if you're being negative in your speech, if you're being critical, if you're late to everything, those are the habits that you need to evaluate. So those are the things that I wanted to just share with you. The first one being recognition, the second one evaluation, the third one set your goals and objectives, then the fourth one reevaluate again, the fifth one modify your plans based on that last evaluation that you made. And then finally, to continually evaluate the obstacles that keep coming into your life. And if you'll do that diagnostic checkup, if you will do that periodically, I'm telling you, it'll make a big difference in your success in life. Go for it.